There's only one ingredient really that gives the beer its color, and that is the malt. And just to explain that one step further, it's really a choice by the brewer on what color they want to make their beer, is really essentially. There may be some flavor nuances that can come from various stages of malting. So they tend to say golden malts or medium roasted malts have a caramelized sweetness to them, whereas a dark malt like this Erdinger here sometimes is referred to as chocolate malt or dark roasted malt. So the thing is, it's a choice of the brewer, and he's looking for a certain color and maybe a certain flavor nuance. So malting itself is simply taking the grains, which are wheat or barley, depending on the beer, and they want to do a little magic with nature in making beer. Because yeast cells are single living organisms that actually cannot handle complex carbohydrates, which is what is found in the seeds of barley and wheat. So the brewer actually has to trick the seeds into thinking they're going to germinate. And he does so by spreading them out on a floor and wetting them. And it's just like your grade 1 experience at home making a plant happen in your home. It's actually when you wet that seed, something magical starts to happen. It starts to think it's making a new plant, and it does so. But in the miracle of nature, before that, there's an enzymatic transition that happens in the seed, which actually allows the conversion of complex carbohydrates or starches to be converted into simple sugars. And it's simple sugars the brewer is after so that it can feed his yeast to make beer. He doesn't want a bunch of plants growing, so when he wets those seeds and they think they're going to start to germinate, the miracle of nature happens. He actually wants to stop them from making plants, so he heats and dries them to stop that process and get what he needs to make beer. So he does that by heating and drying, and a great analogy is when you put a moist white slice of bread in the toaster and you turn on the elements, and what happens the longer you leave it in, the darker the toast gets. What are you doing? You're drying and heating that bread, and the longer you leave it in, the darker the color. And you'll transform from white through golden, through darker colors of gold, the caramelizing effect, as I would mention, and then you get to darker or even burnt toast, which has, although no chocolate in it, it has certain consistency with the idea of bitter cocoa in its flavor. So that's malting, the process, and it's key to understanding what gives beer its color, and it's also key to understanding that the color of beer does not predict its strength of taste.